Welcome to this week's video blog. Parents usually try to teach and encourage their children to take responsibility for their own actions. But when a child's actions leads to property damage or other losses, does the law hold children responsible? What about their parents? The common law in Canada doesn't prevent civil claims from being brought against minors. But children, especially young children, still aren't very likely to be held legally responsible for any damage that they cause. The actions of children will be viewed against what might be expected of other children the same age. Even if a court did find a child liable, there would be very rarely much point in bringing an action in the first place. When a civil lawsuit started, the goal is usually to ask the court to award damages or money that would compensate for the loss that occurred. A child's parents, on the other hand, may very well have substantial assets. But are they legally responsible for their children's actions? The answer is no for most of Canada. The law in British Columbia, however, is different. The Parental Liability Act holds parents responsible for intentional loss or damage caused by their children up to a limit of $25,000. Claims have been started in BC for fairly serious reasons, such as stolen electronics or for stealing from and then vandalizing a house. Parents can protect themselves from liability under this act, however, in that they won't be responsible if they can show they reasonably tried to supervise their child and discourage this sort of behavior. Parents in BC ought to be much more concerned with the School Act that says parents will be held liable for damage caused by their children to school property, intentional or not. The parents' own actions are not a defense, and there's no dollar limit to these claims. Thankfully, this act too has led to very few cases in the courts. The consequences of those cases, however, has been very harsh for the families involved. In one case, several teens went joyriding before setting a car on fire on school grounds. The fire ended up causing $3 million worth of damage. The Court of Appeal held that the teens' parents were responsible for that damage. More recently, a student played what was intended to be a relatively harmless prank on a friend that unintentionally caused the fire sprinklers to go off in his school. While this incident was far more accidental than the previous cases, the student immediately went and told the teachers what he had done. The incident still caused nearly $50,000 in damage. The parents were again ultimately responsible for the cleanup costs. While the courts have recognized that the effect of this legislation is draconian and can place an enormous burden on parents who may be entirely blameless themselves, this remains the law in BC. If you have children, this is just one more reason to make sure that you have sufficient home or rental insurance to make sure your family isn't financially devastated by what might be as simple as an accident at school. To see more of our video blogs, you can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, or visit our website at leaguelaw.com. Thank you.